G'day all, it's Colin from PC TLC and thanks for joining me. In this video we're going to be installing Alpine Linux with the XFCE desktop, hopefully this time successfully. So let's get started on that. I've created a new Virtualbox for this one. So first of all we log in as root. Now just so you know, I'm going to be following the wiki page here for installation. Now there's a few things I'm a little bit unsure of. I'll see if I can sort those out as we go along. Hopefully I can. So first thing we're going to do is set up Alpine. And the keyboard is US and the variant is US for me anyway. And the host name I'll call it Alpine VBox. So for Ethernet, I'm just going to press enter for Etho because that's I don't have to worry about wireless in a VirtualBox. It's already got the Ethernet connected. I'm just going to press default here, enter. I don't want to do any manual, so that's no. N for no. So password for root. So we need to give it a root password, and we'll be using this once we log in as well. I'll just press enter there for default, will do. Enter for default there. Enter for default there as well. It uses Crony. Seems to work all right, that one. Now this one here, it says here RFE done. So if we do F, because I cannot scroll back through the list, which is unfortunate. And if I try to arrow up, it just gives me that stuff there. So I'm going to do an F to search, and it'll find F for find, and it'll go through the mirrors and just let that run. Takes a little while, but it'll find the fastest mirror for you. There's got to be a config file somewhere for this where I can possibly look at all of those mirrors and work out which number is mine. So I can just press a number rather than go through the find list. Would be a lot quicker. Okay, enter for default OpenSSH. I believe the one at the far right is the default if you just press enter. That's my understanding. So it's run through that. Takes a couple of minutes, but it's found the fastest server. Now I tried typing that in manually and it just kept coming up with an error, so I'm not going to do that again. Which disk? SDA. We're going to use sys. Sys is recommended for hard drive install. And it says here sys disk mode. This is a traditional hard disk install. If this mode is selected, the setup Alpine script defaults to create 3 partitions on the selected storage device, boot swap, and the file system root. This mode may be used for generic desktop and development machines. For example, erase the above disks, yes. And that is the install complete. I'm going to power off. Power off and remove the VirtualBox ISO, which it doesn't do for me. Storage, that one there, and remove it. Okay, let's start that up. Now what I'm going to be doing is looking at post install, setting up a new user. So Alpine VBox login is root and the password we created during install, and there we go. So according to the Alpine Linux wiki, add user and put your username. But what I've found is when doing this, it doesn't actually give you your home folders as in pictures, documents, downloads and all that. Now I don't know whether you need to add them manually or not. I'm not sure. I don't know if there's a command to use because you got these commands here. home dir home directory. I don't know if adding that switch there will actually create that. This is where my knowledge, I've done this a little bit in Arch, but unless you do it all the time, it's very hard to remember. And then you got your add groups. So you got to add group or add a user to group. And I always get confused with how to use these commands. I don't do it enough to remember how it's done. So that you would actually obviously type add group -G -S, my name, and then this group. I would think that's how it works. So looking at that, I would be typing add group. So that's my understanding. If I was adding my name to the group disk and wheel and floppy and audio and all that, my understanding is that would be the command that I use to do that, as long as my username is Colin. I haven't added my username yet. But how do you create your home folders? Do you use this switch? Would it be add user Colin --home? Is that how that works? I'm not sure. I'm going to try that anyway. I don't know if that's the correct way of doing it. Well, actually, it'd be probably --home Colin, I think it is. Sorry, I think I got that wrong. So it's add user, then options, --home, and user. So I'm going to try that. I don't know if that's going to work. It's not going to harm. It's worth a try. --home, Colin. Home directory -H. So it's telling me it's -H. Let's try that. So it just keeps bringing up this menu and it doesn't do anything. Or is that just adding to group? Maybe that's just adding to group. So add user Colin. So that's all we can do. Password for user. So that's all I can do there. Okay, so the password's been changed. So now we have to go SU to get into root privileges. Actually, no, we can. We need to log out, don't we? So you can exit. So we exit, which will log us out. And then we can log in with our new username. And we're in. So now what we can do is SU space dash for elevated privileges. Then we can do an APK update and an APK upgrade. And that's done. So at this point, we're going to do a reboot. So let's log into the system. So we're now logged in. So that's pretty much a simple setup. Some of this stuff here, this is the add creating a new user. So I've done that. That's fairly simple in itself. But then you've got all this stuff here and all this stuff here. This is why, you know, I've never been brought up with within the tech world to actually know any of this stuff. I can sort of understand some of it, but when it comes to these things here and the examples and everything, I get lost. And once I work it out, I'll write it down and I'll have it, you know, like I'll create a cherry tree document. And just like my Arch install here, I'll write it all down. I did an Arch install and I wrote everything down that I did. Not that I'll probably do that again, but if I'm bored, I might go through that. But this is the problems I have with this. So we've done a basic install. What we're going to do now is we're going to enable the community repository. So that's what we're going to do. So we've done the APK update and I've done an upgrade. So the community repository was introduced with Alpine Linux version 3.3 to enable the repository, edit the file, etc APK repository. So let's do that. So we'll need to be in elevated privileges, no doubt. Now, first of all, we need to APK add nano because there's no nano in here. And that'll install nano. And then we can do nano etc APK rep and tab key for repositories. And then we go down here and we uncomment this community one here, this one. Now the other ones seem to have like an edge, main, edge community and edge testing. So that must be something a bit more extreme. Let's Control O and enter and Control X to exit. Clear the screen. And then we'll do an APK update to update that repository. So that is the community repository enabled. Now what we're going to do is, well, we've got package management here. Let's check that out. So there's the package management. You've got upgrade the currently installed packages, update, which updates the index of available packages. You can delete a package with APK del. So that's how that works. And what we're going to do now is set up the Xorg base. Now this is where I got stuck before making this video. So we're going to set up the Xorg base first. So let's do that. So APK add. So as suggested on the Alpine Linux wiki. So that is the recommended command there to install Xorg base. So let's do that. Okay, so that's done. So what we're going to do now is add the XFCE setup, and there's also desktop notes here as well. So we've got the desktop notes and we've got the XFCE setup. So I'm going to run this command here. So that's the command I'm going to run there. I'm just going to check that I've typed it correctly. So let's do that. Now while that's installing, we're going to be checking out the desktop notes, and this is where I got stuck. I added the video intel, and it tells you to do a, what was it, where was it? Do a search for your video. And then for the video, you install video intel. Now that's okay. So there's two kinds. There's you can check for your video driver packages. You can either install video-sys or video intel. Now I did intel on the Virtualbox and that didn't work. So I uninstalled the intel and installed the video mode setting because I was getting a black screen and no LightDM login screen. And as soon as I installed this one, that all worked fine. So hopefully that's the same result we get here. So it recommends APK search XF86-video, and then it gives you this big long list. Now I've got Intel mode setting up top. Now, you know, I didn't take any notice of that. I just thought if I see an Intel there and not a sys, then it's an Intel, but I didn't really take any notice that there was mode settings sitting on top of the list. So I'd have to think that when you do this search, possibly, and I'm not 100% sure, that the modes, that the one on top is the one that you need to be setting. So I'm going to be APK add XF86-video-mode setting. That's what I'm going to do. And that's done. So next it takes us through the inputs, which we have already installed. Most systems Xorg should be able to auto detect all devices, so it gives you some device troubleshooting here, I think it is. It's all optional anyway. So I've created my user. Now we need to start the dbus service. So under the desktop notes, you can test it first. So just doing a start will test it, and then doing an add will add it to boot. So dbus start on boot. So that's where I realized that that the light DM wasn't working correctly, because when I did a start, it went to a black screen. So we do an rc-service dbus start. So there's no errors, so that seems to be okay. So we can rc-update add dbus. And that's been added to the run level default. And then we can do the same with rc-service light DM start. And we've got the light DM manager up and running. And if we Control Alt and F1 back to here, and then we can RC, we know it's running, so that's all good. -update add light DM, and that'll add that to the run level default. Then we can do a reboot. Okay, now questions. I have questions. Why isn't my Linux username here and it just says Linux user? I don't know. I'm not sure why that is. Now, another thing I noticed, once you get to this point and you go to log out, restart, shut down, you only got a log out option. These ones are grayed out. So what we need to do there is we need to do the following, which is on here, allow shutdown and reboot. So we need this command here or this command here. So I've done this one and everything seems to work all right. I don't know whether there's a difference between the two. I'm not sure. My knowledge doesn't extend that far in knowing which one's which. APK add ELOGIND polkit -ELOGIND. Oh, and of course we've got to be root first, right? So there's the command. Let's do that. And that's done. And now if we go to log out, well, actually, no, you probably need to do a reboot first. So before we execute a reboot, let's just check installing Fuse for browsing of network shares within XFCE. So we're going to do that. So APK add gvfs-fuse gvfs-smb. So it says here presently 3.11, the OpenRC script for Fuse is a separate package. However, it may be sufficient for GVFS to initiate the Fuse kernel module. So we can probably add that. Won't hurt to add that, I don't think. I hope. So that's done. So rc-service Fuse start, which is recommended here. And then we add Fuse so it's up and running on login. And then we rc-update add Fuse. It's been added to the run level default. Now probably won't be too concerned about this one in a Virtualbox, but enable automatic mounting of USB drives, install these packages here. Let's just do that anyway. udisks 2. And I think that is it. Actually, cancel that. Let's clear that. Let's do a reboot while we're in the terminal. So once again, I don't have my username there. I don't know why that is. There must be a way of adding that. Now if we go to the home directory, there's no folders there. And if we go to control-h.config, there's no users.dir or whatever it is. There's no config file for that either. These are the things, this is the thing that's it's like, this reminds me so much of installing Arch, because have a look, check this out. I'm jumping from tab to tab on this wiki to install things. And, I would consider myself an average Linux user, but I've been using Linux a long time. But I just like using desktop, and I like to keep things simple. And I do dive into a lot of things, and have done over the years with Linux, and push my boundaries as far as I can go, get frustrated and whatever. But you can't find the basic things for like a home folder. Just adding a home folder, and I know that you can manually set them up in here. Then you're probably not running in a way that you should be, because things aren't kosher as what it would be on a normal setup. So this is just the questions I have. Now if we go to the panel and add new items to the panel, you'll probably find that the whisker menu is not there. So how do we solve that? We go to apk search whisker menu. Let's do that. So you've got XFCE4-whisker menu-plugin. So apk add XFCE4-whisker menu-plugin. Oh, yeah, we've got to be elevated privileges, right? Well, did I add sudo? I don't know if... Let's cancel that. Oh, let's just go in there and exit out. See if I don't know if I can use sudo or not. Let's try it. Sudo apk add XFCE4-whisker menu-plugin. Oh, yeah. Oops, wrong one. Oh, I'm not in the sudoers file. Okay, fair enough. I need to do that. Password. Let's just do that. And there we go. So let's check that out. Panel, add new items. Whisker menu, let's add that. Close that. Remove that. Remove it and move this over to there. And done deal. And does that work with, doesn't work with the super key, does it? No, it doesn't. So we need to go to settings, keyboard, application shortcuts. Should be a whisker menu pop-up something. So it'll be add XFCE 4-pop-up-whisker menu. Let's try that. I'm pretty sure that's the one. Press a key, super key, and there we go, super key. Okay, done. Log back into user privileges. Going to apk add htop. And let's do htop. So I can tell you that when I did a simple install, it was running around about 30 megabytes of memory. Now that we've added all that, we're up to 226. So it depends whether you want to run with a graphical desktop or run in a command line interface. is how much memory you will be using, but 226 is pretty good anyway. And there's probably still a lot to do with this desktop, to be honest, to get it up to a standard everyday user environment. There's probably still a few things to do that I'm sort of unaware of how to sort of do those. And that's the other thing too, the logout. Now you have all these options because of the commands that we did earlier, so they're all working fine. But I'm hoping there's somebody out there that can, maybe enlighten me on some more commands on home directories. Do you just create them, just add new folder and create them? Will that eventually generate a users.dirs file or whatever it is? It's a user-dirs-dirs file. So that's, I don't know whether that would eventually create that or not. I don't know. Or can you create your home folders with a command? I've still got to add myself to sudo. I don't know about codecs and all that as well. I'm only in a Virtualbox. But maybe my next step would be to install this on real hardware. But at the moment, I'm just working my way through the Alpine Linux wiki just to get a desktop up and running. So we've been successful in doing so. So that's, but still htop is reporting 237. So we're, when somebody told me Alpine Linux runs at around about 20 something 30 megabytes, it does if you're running in the command line. I thought Alpine Linux might have been competition for Antix, but Antix is still around about the 117 megabyte mark. So I thought I may have missed out big time in not installing Alpine Linux, but still Antix comes out on top for sure. And it's got a lot more there, and we're still, got a few things to do with this one as well. And we don't even have packages installed yet. So apk search XFCE4, and you might find, you can add a lot of other stuff for the XFCE environment, battery plugin and stopwatch, task manager, all those things. So there's plenty more to add there. And what about applications? So what applications do we have that we can install in here? APK search, LibreOffice. Oh, so we're going to go back up top. I was going to say, where is it? So LibreOffice. So they're all got to be installed separately, is it? Or is there one that you can install? I cannot find, unless I'm missing it. So you'd have to do that individually, I would say. I cannot find a command that does the whole lot in one. Let's see if it's got a Sunder DVD ripper in here. No. MPV, it's got MPV in there, that's fine. What about Google Chrome? What Googles does it have? No, it doesn't have Google Chrome, but we might be able to find Firefox for sure. Firefox ESR, Firefox 84. So what was that one that DistroTube was looking at the other day? LBRY Wolf. LBRY Wolf. Not there. What about Brave? Let's try Thunderbird. So they've got Fienza icon theme for Thunderbird, but what about Thunderbird itself? No Thunderbird. My favorite cherry tree doesn't have either. So this is another problem you're going to run into with Alpine Linux is applications. GIMP. So they have GIMP. Yeah, I can't believe they don't have Thunderbird. Let's try again. Thunderbird, maybe dash. Thunderbird dash, maybe. No. Does it have maybe Geary? Evolution possibly. So it's got Geary. What about Evolution? It's got Evolution. Doesn't have Thunderbird? Really? Interesting. So maybe there's another repo you can add. Not sure, haven't got that far yet. But that's a basic install of XFCE, maybe just a little tiny bit more than basic, on Alpine Linux. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you found it interesting and informative. And thanks for watching.